interview there with Gary Llewellyn. He was clearly pleased to have won there.
He was so chuffed. I don't think he was expecting that at all. It's worked out beautifully, and it just shows like if you can be brave and make that early move, it can pay off. And track position's so key here. Once he's in front, doesn't matter how good Van Pamelen is, he was 3 karts back.
Absolutely, and the likes of Van Pamelen and Scherb, they couldn't actually strategise their way around the problem. Now, so far, Spanners, we've been trying to pick some potential winners out of these races, but then lately, it's gone completely out the window and we've had a shock result.
Yeah, what do we know?
Now, look at this here. We've got some excellent names across the board. The key thing in this is people gaining points by doing well, yes, but there's going to be some people who come out of the semi-final. There's some big names here with some big scores who are going to miss out quite seriously.
Look at that, Daines and Dhillon together on track as well, starting. I can't imagine that one passing too cleanly. And then the worry here for everyone else, though, is Healey's just going to disappear.
Yeah, Dan Healey, I mean, that is a pretty rapid time, that 32.7. Obviously, it's rapid. It's put him on pole position, hasn't it? But the fact is Dan Healey's setting a searing pace to do that. It's not the case that those lot are slower behind him. It's just Healey is definitely faster. It's only by 1/10 of a second, but it's been enough. They're going to take the start now. So Dan Healey, we saw a bit of a false start last time, but Healey is a bit more experienced at this than what we've seen previously. So Healey, he's pulled the pin now, and Healey's going for it, but he's definitely got Nowicki going with him, and Daines in third, Dhillon fourth. Now, can we expect some bumping and boring reference Dhillon and Daines, Spanners?
Yes.
Are you going to elaborate on that?
No, let's have a look. They're obviously both very good and skillful karters, and at the moment they're a little bit spread out, but there might be a move for the lead here, James.
Yeah, well, that could well come, and of course Nowicki is going to be keen to do something about Healey. He's going to be worried about Healey. Healey is one of those more internationally regarded drivers, and Spanners?
Well, Nowicki made that move on Healey straight away. Daines was there to stick his nose in, so he's got to be careful.
Of course. Well,
big move there into 5th place, and Dhillon's lost out to Truman, I think.
Yeah, Dan Truman's getting pretty racy there. In fact, Dhillon's going to lose another place. He does, and I think that's Joris Sturm. It is Joris Sturm. The Dutchman has now moved ahead of Dhillon, and Dhillon's been bundled down the order. Now, one thing, it's still going on there with Sturm and that lot behind. All action down the hairpin there. It's Sturm who comes out ahead of Dhillon. It's still kicking off, but now it's gone sort of more line of stern. And into the pits is Dante Dhillon, a very early stop.
No, I think that's a good idea. Clear your head. He'd made contact with 3 karts in that lap. Not necessarily his fault, but Truman put a great move in on him and surprised him in the snail section. So that's good. Just clear your head, reset, start again. I think that's smart driving.
Now, while things have opened up a bit, Spanners, there's a very important development with Chris Daines. Those who are friends with him on Facebook may have noticed last night that an update occurred where Daines said he was going to be wearing a different suit today.
Couldn't recognise him.
Yeah, the reason he's wearing a different suit is he's obviously had one too many of the famous Formula Fast pizzas because he managed to break his zip yesterday. So Formula Fast, of course, here in Milton Keynes, famed for its British Rental Car Championship. It's a showcase event of the year, but it's also very famous for its years and for its pizzas over the years, and they routinely sell out every year. So Daines obviously a pizza too many and has split his suit.
As we see Nowicki stick his nose in down the inside of Dan Healey. I'm not going to judge Chris Daines because in my cupboard on the left-hand side is for slightly bigger spanners, and then maybe summer spanners' clothes are on the right-hand side. So I can completely sympathise with Chris.
Excellent. Also, we would, I think Chris Daines, if we're taking bicep measurements, is probably bigger than the pair of us. So perhaps we'd be wise there.
Speak for yourself, old.
Well, I wouldn't want to have a bicep off with Daines, I think. But somebody who he's going to be having a bicep off with is Mariusz Nowicki, because Daines is definitely getting racy down there in 3rd place. He's on the case of Nowicki and really working him going into the snail section. Spanners, is he going to go for it?
It's a really fascinating battle because Nowicki is just caught between the glory ahead and crushing defeat behind, and he's having to play this balancing act. He's definitely looking forward. He's not letting Healey off the hook, but Chris Daines is making a massive nuisance of himself, as is his wont to do in these competitions.
Absolutely. So there is Dan Healey. Superlative performance by Healey up at the front. He's got Nowicki close. Oh, yeah, Dan Healey run wide a bit and almost a shot there for Nowicki. But Chris Daines is going to get pretty racy behind him. He's got on the, his Red Bull kart fight suit on, and they were given to people who made the final of the Red Bull kart fight series a few years ago. Daines clearly in the mix with that, so he's going to make this a kart fight on track here.
And this is the pattern we're seeing. Before the pit stop, it's a little bit more polite. If they come out of the pits like this is going to be a really, really juicy battle. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping the pit stops don't separate them too much.
Exactly. At the moment, Daines has two options. He's got pass for position, and he's got pit stop for position. Once he's made that stop, that eliminates that, so it's purely down to passes. It's going to get a bit more aggressive there.
Not sure I fancy the pit stop for Daines at the moment. If I'm his team, and his team is made up of Arnaud Tenay and Kyle Power, I would be telling him to stay out right now, because look where he's going to come out, right behind Parker. He's got a lot of overtaking to do if he comes in. The pit isn't an option right now, and I know that those guys are down on the side of the track giving each other instructions.
Absolutely. Interestingly, if we look at the times, Chris Daines is fastest on track. He's down to 32.3. That's the fastest we've seen now this morning on the revised snail section option of the track. Chris Daines is the fastest we've seen all morning, and he's there in third place. As you say, though, it probably would be a mistake at this stage to come in, because although he's the fastest, the other two are setting times at 32.4. So there's nothing really to gain by trying to pit around Healey, who's the leader, and Nowicki second.
So Marshall is leading a 4-kart train as well. He's under pressure from Llewellyn. I couldn't help but notice that Llewellyn, Joe, is very young and small, whereas Gary Llewellyn was quite old. Are they related?
That's right. Well, one's from Milton Keynes and one's from Bletchley, so I don't know.
The case thickens.
When you're down there next, give him an ask, Spanners. Give him an ask. We may yet find somebody. Now, obviously, a bit down the order there. If we go back to Joe Llewellyn, he's in his first major competitive event. The youngster, he's barely turned 14, just about scraping in on age. And Joe Llewellyn, a pretty good show there down in 6th place. He's got Joris Sturm, the Dutch veteran ahead of him, and Gary Llewellyn's got to make up. Joe Llewellyn in this case, has got to make up 3 seconds to catch up with the Dutch ace ahead, one of the true international drivers. Meantime, another proper driver there is Dan Healey. He really is making a good show of this, and you can see that there's no real defensive driving going on. No one's coming off the line to defend around. These guys are just basically cancelling each other out of time, although it is still Daines listed as fastest, although there's not really anything to choose. Daines, though, really starting to push Nowicki. If there's going to be any sort of moves made, you'd have to assume one way or another Daines versus Nowicki, yeah? Yeah,
they're so close, and you're just looking at that snail section every time going, is this the moment? But when we're pre-pit stop, probably not. Once we get post-pit stop, if they're still in that same order, suddenly those opportunities. Mind you, having said that, Daines has just stuck his nose down the inside. Maybe now he's going to try and force them to drive a little more defensively, or at least make them think about it.
Absolutely right there, Spanners. Daines, you could see from the rear shot, and Daines is in. Daines is in. Daines has taken the bits. And what's this going to be? We know 10 is going to be good, 11 is fine, 12 will be a bit poor, but we'll have a look and see what Daines does. We'll just see when he crosses the line what they list. Oh, it was a great stop. It was less than 10 seconds. It was possibly the best stop we've seen all competition by Chris Daines there. An amazing thing. Now, will that mean a leapfrog of Nowicki and Healey? Because the onus is on them to match that, and that's going to be a big ask, Spanners.
A bit of action down at the bottom there, because Parker's lost out 2 spaces, and one of those places is Dante Dhillon, who made that early stop. I think he's out of that lead battle, unfortunately, but he could find his way fighting past Jones, as I think is next on his hit list.
Absolutely, we've got the camera on Nowicki there. Now, Nowicki obviously has got relieve pressure. And into the pits, 14. That's Joe Llewellyn. That's the youngster. He's making a stop. Not very experienced at pit stop. So can he make it clean? He's looking for the green. He's got the green, and he's back onto the track.
He's played it very
a decent
safe.
Stop there by Joe Llewellyn. Just to give some perspective, an 11-second stop. We'll take that all day long, Spanners.
Well, it was very conservative by the youngster. He stopped all the way at the line, waited for the green light, and went. And that's one way of doing it. Why not?
Absolutely, and if he can be that conservative and still pull 11 seconds, then he's doing very well indeed. Talking of doing well, Dan Healey is doing great at the front there. Dan Healey is absorbing all pressure, and he's running right at the front there. He could be one who wins again, and he's got Nowicki, who's probably the biggest gap maybe that we've seen all race between these two. I know it's only half a second. In fact, Nowicki's closed in, so that probably eliminates that point.
I don't think Nowicki can get out comfortably in front of Daines without Daines having the on-track momentum. I think they're both in danger. They're both in danger from Daines here.
Oh, absolutely. They do need to pick up the pace. Daines is, let's have a look. Well, he's matching them for speed, so the gap is actually staying the same. Daines is fastest, but he's matching them.
I think Daines is so fast. It's a bit of a weird team choice, isn't it? Teaming up with Powers and Arno.
Well, I think Daines, it has to be said, Spanners, you know, when you talk to Chris Daines, he does tend to talk himself down a bit. So there's nothing happens on track that would suggest that, but he never... number 8, who's that? It's Dan Truman. Dan Truman picked that 3rd place. Dan Truman, what's it going to be? Vastly experienced Dan Truman, regular in the Club 100 scene, and one of the top runners. He's dropped down to 5th. Dan Healey back on screen.
So I think Truman is a net 4th at the moment, and number 16 is coming to pit. That's Parker.
Yeah, Matthew Parker there is pitting a little bit further down the order. He's going to resume in 9th place, or is he being picked by Llewellyn? Yes, he has. Llewellyn just nabbed him going over the line there. So Parker is going to have to fight Llewellyn on track now if he's going to move up the position. Meantime, they're catching back markers, and it is actually Parker they're catching. There's Dan Healey, but it's a little bit easier on the Snell section dealing with back markers. And does Parker get out of the way? Yes, he does. He's giving Healey room, but they're all flat out down here. This could be time for Nowicki to gain or lose. Nowicki's going to lose because, it's all right, he gets past Parker.
Well, I think Healey lost a little bit of time there. He was giving Parker a bit of a tap just to remind him of his obligations under the blue flag conditions.
It's always a bit tricky, isn't it? Because obviously Parker's driving his race. He's trying to catch up with Joe Marshall running ahead of him, and they are running flat out down the back straight. You know, carts are so equal that Dan Healey isn't going past him because you're putting him a lap down because he's got a faster cart. He's just faster in the corners. There's Dan Healey up at the front on screen, and that's Joe Llewellyn ahead of him. But Nowicki is sticking there right with Dan Healey.
May I draw your attention to the gap from Healey to Chris Daines? 10.8 seconds. That's come down.
Yeah, Chris Daines, he's still listed the fastest, and he's running faster than Healey and Nowicki at the moment. Chris Daines has the fastest lap of the race, and he is... they're getting through the back markers all right, but this must be gaining Daines something.
Well, here's a problem. He's got Sturm ahead, who has not pitted. Could be potential issue because the gap is closing quite quickly.
Yeah, and Joris Sturm is a fast driver too. This is not somebody who's going to slice past. Joris Sturm hasn't pitted, as you say, Spanners, so that means that Daines is going to be hoping that Sturm comes to the pits, but with 9 minutes to go, this could be a long way.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a ruiner for Daines, because unless Healey and Nowicki just volunteer to come in now and give up that advantage. Look, 10.8 is the gap, but he's going to come across a big roadblock now, and as you say, I don't think Sturm's going to get out of the way. They're nose to tail now, and I think Chris Daines is going to have to make a move. He is effectively racing Sturm for the race win. Although Sturm is a net.
Yeah, Sturm is the spoiler effectively, yeah.
But if he doesn't make a move now, that win is disappearing.
Yeah, he's going to have to fight Sturm, but Sturm, the trouble Daines got is Sturm is very good. And he's having a look at the inside. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen on Daines? I don't think he's done it. Oh, gosh, Chris Daines. Now, that's the Chris Daines we know. The punchy, very, very aggressive racing Daines. He's kind of waving to Sturm as if to say, fair dinkum, mate.
Sturm might have facilitated or helped or played his part in that overtake. He's quite happy to then go behind Daines and not lose any time himself, because he's in a battle with Truman.
He is indeed. Now, obviously, Sturm will have had on his mind not losing any time in the battle with Daines. It's an interesting one though. Sturm is one of the Bouton's clan, and so he will be used to a result. Daines 11.4. Healey in now. Would you suggest, Spanners?
For my money, yeah. Either of those two, actually, I would suggest come in now, make sure you're ahead of Daines, because if you let him crawl back again, how long have we got? 7 minutes. That is plenty of time for that. 11.4. If that starts coming down now, you would think that both of them really want to get in. Otherwise, they're fighting for second, not first. Absolutely, and they're continuing for a lap. Neither of them come in. I really don't think that Healey and Nowicki have sort of quite got the picture that we've got up here, if you see what I mean. They can see on the screens around the track, and they have got friends, teammates, etc. waving to them, and you know, everyone who's on the kart scene knows Dan's mum Jo. She's probably waving as well. But if any, you know, Dan Healey and Nowicki probably have got the information they need, but whether they respond to that and take the Danes' threat seriously is yet to be seen. They're not coming in now, but I think it's them versus Danes for the win more so than each other, oddly enough. Well, yeah. Yes, no, I would agree with that. But let's have a look at the lap timings as Daines crosses the line. It was 11.4. and it's now gone to 11.3. So he's starting to claw that back. And how much are those front two tripping over each other?
Nowicki has set the fastest race lap. Nowicki's fastest on the track at the moment, but Daines is literally, he's almost, he's within hundredths of him. So I think the position now with Daines, 11.3 seconds behind the leader, which is Healey, who's in front on this screen here with the orange flash on the helmet. With 0.4 behind, that means 10.9 behind Nowicki. Well, Healey could pit now and make a good stop and be just in front of Daines. Nowicki would have to make a great stop and be just in front of Daines, but leave it much longer, and Daines may well pull that gap in. It's 11.2 now. It's coming down, and they're catching someone. The two leaders are catching someone. Who do we think that is? It could be James Marshall, maybe.
20. Number 20.
Yeah.
Marshall, yes, you're right.
And James Marshall is setting laps of 33.0, so he's not going slowly either. So getting past him could need some blue flags. There's James Marshall, and there is the leader, Healey, and Nowicki right on the tail of Healey.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Nowicki is being slowed down by Healey. I think they are going around together at a fair pace. But having said that, Nowicki's got a big run on him down the back straight.
Yeah, Nowicki's past the back marker and he resumes position behind Healey. Yeah, I think you're right there, Spanners. I don't think it's one's holding up the other. I think they are just literally matching each other for time. I don't think, that's probably also why Nowicki hasn't bothered pitting, because he knows he's not actually been held up by Healey. They are just, equal on time. But Daines is the danger man. It's down to 11.1 now. It's coming down a tenth of a second a lap. Which is a factor when you're given they've probably got another sort of 7 or 8 laps to go. He's getting it, so it's too tight to call.
He's coming up to 2 back markers who are fighting each other, and that's going to be quite critical, because I don't think he's going to get past on this back straight, so he's going to be with them in the tight final section, and he's going to inevitably lose time. So there's very little space for the back markers to jump out of the way.
Someone was driving down the back stretch with a hand in the air then. Was that Chris Daines?
Chris Daines is here shaking his head because he's been held up.
He is being held up. The blue flags will be coming out, but at least he's on the snail section. He's got past one of them. The snail area is probably an easier place to get past people. There's not so much sort of stop-start to it.
Jones could have made that easier.
Maybe he could. But what is the gap? The gap listed last time was 11.3, so it opened up a bit, Spanners.
Yeah.
This could be critical.
Yeah, and this is it. I do have some sympathy for Jones, but he was in that tight section when they caught up at the rear. Very hard to let him pass, but then also he stayed ahead into the snail. Daines had to make quite an aggressive move to lap Jones. That's what's cost him the time.
Absolutely, and now Daines is free from Parker and Jones, and we'll see what happens. It's up to 11.4, so maybe this would be another good time for Healey and Nowicki to pit. I mean, they're running out of time as it is, but maybe now is exactly the right time. And in fact, yes, Nowicki is the first one. Nowicki in.
It's going to be very tight. It's going to have to be good. He's given himself a run-up, so he has gone for the stopping short and anticipating the green. And here comes Chris Daines round the final corner. It's looking good for Nowicki at the moment, but Daines has momentum.
Yeah, they're into the snail section, and Daines is carrying so much more speed. He's right on the back of Nowicki now. He's going to go for the inside. He can't. Nowicki shuts him off. Daines tries to the right, but there's not enough room, really. And Daines is cutting to the inside, but there's no space there either. And Daines was really, well, he had 3 shots at it, none of which were any room given by Nowicki, so it wasn't going to happen. But, well, at least he tried. But Daines there. Now it's going to be down to Dan Healey. They are 10.8 behind. Dan Healey's going to have to make a very good stop if he's not going to come out alongside Nowicki, which would mean Nowicki have momentum and could take the lead.
Such small margins as we have number 11 coming into pit. That's Sturm. He's going to end up in a net 5th place. But such small margins. Chris Daines was stuck behind Rob Jones for nearly 1 complete lap. And that has been the difference, I think, between him coming out in front of Nowicki and being stuck behind.
Absolutely, because there's only 0.4 of a second between them, so you're absolutely right there, Spanners. That will have been probably the factor of the race for Chris Daines. I mean, the other two did the best they could. It's just they probably weren't aware of it till further on around the course. There's Chris Daines we're looking at now, right behind Nowicki. Healey is still in the lead, and we're just waiting for the leader to pit. Healey has opened up enough of a gap now that he could, with a very good stop, still come out the lead, but it is going to be very close when he does.
It looks like one of those ones where it's going to look close, but he's going to have enough time to get out. Yes, the guys behind will have the momentum, but I think he'll have the inside line and have enough. 11.3 seconds, you'd have to say it would be a very bad stop, or an uncharacteristically bad stop.
Yeah, he would have to blow it. I mean,
well, there you go, yeah.
He wouldn't have to blow it by much, but it would have to be sort of, a mess up. Right, so we've got Daines has glowed ever so slightly on Nowicki. Nowicki is 11.3 seconds behind Healey. The reason it's getting interesting is because we know Healey's going to be in this time round surely, and 11.3 seconds is about what a decent enough stop. Healey's not in. He's really taking some chances, Dan Healey. He's got to pit next time round, or they're going to disqualify him from the race. There's only 1.5 minutes remaining. So, well, look at Daines. Oh, and he's... Oh dear me, that is bad, that is bad. It's a back marker. Daines is going to have to let him back through. He's going to have to let him back through. But this is playing in the hands of Dan Healey. But Healey hasn't pitted. He's got to pit. Healey has got to pit.
Well, so Daines' contact was with Nowicki.
It was.
And it was a optimistic move. He's made a lot of contact.
Well, Nowicki was sideways and effectively spun out. We'll see what the organisers say about it. But, and into the pits is Dan Healey. This is the crucial one. It's got to be good, but helped by the incident.
He's clean. Healey's clean out the pits. He's a long way ahead of Chris Daines.
He's done enough, and there's only less than a minute to go now. Now Daines is staying ahead, so obviously he hasn't been given a bad pass flag. We've got nothing in the messages. It seems like it's fair game.
I'd be surprised if they weren't having a look at it, but Nowicki was sideways because of the initial contact with Chris Daines. It definitely was as a result of the overtaking manoeuvre. But he was a fair way alongside him, and you could argue, did Nowicki turn in, or did Daines go up the inside too harsh?
Well, if they're looking at it, they've only got 26 seconds to look at it. The checkered flag's coming out, and Dan Healey wins. Oh, and up the inside, contact. Nowicki on Daines. Well, it was just a repeat performance. Healey's looking over at the race control, but it was pretty much the same thing that we've just seen, but going in the other direction. So maybe they'll consider it on as even. Who knows? We'll find out. But Dan Healey is a fantastic winner there. Dan Healey has really got the measure of Nowicki there, helped by their contact there. So Dan Healey did everything right in that race and pulled out a fantastic win. So a great win there by Dan Healey, and another impressive win. And what a result on that one. We're going to be going down into the pits in a moment to see Spanners, and well, he'll be getting a great insight hopefully on the incidents between Nowicki and Chris Daines. But what a win by Dan Healey. Is there? Yeah, I think he's in sort of the Spanners zone. Yeah, Spanners has got him now. They're still talking.
Well, I'm down here in the pit lane, and how could I not have a chat with Chris Daines there? Obviously a tough battle all the way through, but the key element was you and Nowicki at the end, both of you making passes on that final hairpin. I've spoken to Kyle and Arno there, and they're very mixed about what happened. Obviously tough racing. How did you see that first incident when you came through on Nowicki?
I tried to make a genuine move. Personally, I thought it was a bit tough for myself, I'm not going to lie, but I didn't get the bad pass flag, so I held my position. Then the last lap, there was an intentional punt from behind with no clear intention to overtake properly or fair. And, it is what it is, but it's just annoying that an intentional takeout like that has just cost me another place. Again, I tried to make a proper move on the whole situation, but it is what it is, just a bit pissed off, sorry. So.
But you had a real shot for the race win there. Obviously very hard to get past the back markers on this setup.
Yeah, I think I pitted at the right time, and then every time I come up to a back marker or opposing opposition, I had to get past them quick because I knew Healey would just get away from me. But There was just not enough time at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed, but there you go.
Tough break. I think you've done all you could and you've raced well. Chris, well done, mate. Thanks for coming and speaking to me. It's very cool. But race winner, Dan Healey, congratulations. What a beautiful win. Chaos behind you and obviously a very tactical battle there. When you're out in front, you said just a case of letting those guys pit out of the way. You left it quite late.
Yeah, I wanted to leave it quite late, but I was kind of struggling for pace, so I wasn't sure if it was going to work out. And I'm not sure what happened. Something happened on the last lap? Or
it certainly did, yeah. You'll want to watch that back.
On the corner of my eye, and I thought, oh, it's time to pit, but it was pit closing anyway, so I was going to pit either way. But yeah, thankfully I came up with a quite comfortable lead. So yes.
So Daines pitted before you. How aware were you of that gap? Because it was right on the cusp.
Yeah, so obviously there's kind of a section of track where you'd look, kind of like gauge 10 seconds. So obviously mine's typically the start line and one of the pillars, and I could see he was kind of getting closer and closer, and then suddenly it went to about 11.3 seconds on the board, so I started watching that, and that's how I then gauged the gap.
Yeah, he got held up there. A great win, well done, Dan. Good delivery. Yes, fantastic, well done. Wow, more emotions. It's only going to get more and more punchy as we heat up into this 4th round of the BRKC.